Ahoy there and welcome to Good Ship Music Ally Focus with me, Music Ally's editor or captain, Joe Sparrow. And in this episode, we're talking about hitting the charts whilst doing it DIY. I speak to Laura Kidd, whose recent Obey Robots project managed to hit the UK album charts at number 14. A hugely impressive achievement for a DIY and indie artist. But how did she do it? She tells us. Now, each Music Ally Focus episode analyses one meaningful music business story at a time, just like this one. And so this podcast is going to be quick. It should take about the same amount of time as André Ortolf could snap 3,000 bananas in half. André snapped 119 in 1 minute in 2020. And fret not if you're worried about waste. The brutalised bananas were baked into banana bread afterwards. Now, talking of breaking things, Laura Kidd has been breaking ground as a fully independent artist for a long time, and using only email, YouTube videos and Facebook ads, she recently achieved UK chart success. She spoke to me about her deliberate choice to ignore fame and how she instead looked to build a slow-burn, direct-to-fan nano community that supports her work. Laura also explained why someone who is not concerned with the traditional concept of success decided to aim for the charts, the traditional measure of success, and how being completely DIY is a terrifying concept. It's a fascinating conversation for anyone working in music marketing and especially for DIY artists looking for that all-important breakthrough. Let's go over to our conversation with Laura right now. So I'm very happy to welcome to the Focus podcast, Laura Kidd. Hi, Laura.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. Now, we're going to be talking about using the various tools that are available to everybody in the DIY end of the music spectrum to achieve chart success, which is the holy grail for lots of people. But before we get there, can you just give us a general introduction, who you are, your background, and your various artist projects?
Sure. So my name's Laura Kidd. I'm a music producer, solo artist, video maker, general internet person. I started out with a solo project called She Makes War, and I released 4 albums under that name. And then I decided I hated my name, so I changed it to Pen Friend. So I've released 1 album under the name Pen Friend. The latest album I've released is under the name Obey Robots because it's a collaboration with another artist, Rat from Ned's Atomic Dustbin. But generally speaking, everything I do is under the name Pen Friend now.
Okay. Yeah. And your approach, for a bit more context, has traditionally been extremely DIY or indie. Oh, well, do you refer to yourself as indie or DIY or both? What is it?
I prefer the term independent, and I always have, but that's because people used to call people unsigned, and I thought that doesn't make sense to me because I haven't tried to get signed. So I always saw that as sort of sounding like a lack of something. So then I use the word independent. I've started using DIY a little bit more recently because people understand what that is now. When I started making albums, people liked to, they seemed to like to denigrate what I was doing by saying it was self-released or that it was DIY. And now I think it's been taken to be a positive thing. So any of those is fine. Absolutely not unsigned.
Not
I hate it.
Okay.
That's ridiculous.
Right, yeah. So how comprehensive is that approach in terms of the DIY approach, and why is it so important to you?
Okay, how comprehensive it is that I do literally everything, which I wouldn't recommend to anyone. But the reason that I've done that in the first place is necessity. So I never wanted to hang around and wait for someone to say it was okay for me to put albums out. Essentially, before I started releasing my own music, I worked as a session musician. I toured the world with various artists. And I saw how that stuff worked, and I didn't really like it. And I could see. I've also heard a lot of anti-success stories in that people doing very well in the music industry and having a miserable life for various reasons. So I was turned off that kind of thing very early on. I only ever wanted to build a sustainable practice, a sustainable career for myself. So it didn't make any sense to try and get other people involved or to try and become famous or to become whatever, to make it in the ways that traditionally people see success are in the music business.
So it was about doing it on your own terms and building financial success that supports yourself.
Yeah, and in the beginning it wasn't even about that. It was just about being able to afford to make another record.
Right. Yeah.
I've always done things very sustainably, not spent lots of money on making the records in the first place. and turning to the audience rather than turning to the industry to get that support to put things out. So it's always been very fan focused, and I'm now a fully fan funded artist.
Right. So truly independent in the sort of the very sort of ultimate sense of the word.
Yeah, and it's not, and I don't mean it to try and sound better than someone who's got some help. It's just worked out this way. I did have a manager for a short period of time that was not beneficial to either of us, and we parted ways. And then after that experience, that was around 2017, I just decided that instead of trying to sort of dip one toe in, because you could, when you do DIY stuff, it's very like, I just want to make my music and share it with people, but there's always a little thing in your head like, but wouldn't it be great if it did go well and everyone did love me and I did get on the telly and all that. So I just decided to take that toe out of the water and just really focus on making my music and sharing it directly with people, and stopping doing press and stopping doing all of that.
Yes, and so we are grateful that you are doing this little bit of press. In that sense. It's a complex dichotomy there, isn't it? It's making music. If anyone can make music, but then when you make music as a profession, there is an element of success is a nebulous word, right? So you do want people to like it, and you do want people to become, I'm using air quotes, famous. But because that's what generates the income and sustains the business. But then it's you're navigating there a delicate path, aren't you, between what fame and success means in the sense of a maybe personal sense, but then also what it means in a business sense. Yeah. So how does that play into how you release music and what you do?
Well, I would absolutely remove the word famous from it, because it's really nothing. That's not in anyone's control, first of all. And I say that, and I hope that it is.
Your fans would say you're famous, though, wouldn't you?
I guess. I don't know. That word makes me feel very weird, because honestly, if I walked down the street and someone was like, "Oh, you're from that band," I'd just be like, "Oh God, horrible!" Run and hide. But not because of the person. The person's probably sound.
Yes,
if they've heard of me, goodness me, that they must be really searching for music on the internet. So that's great. In terms of what you said, talk about success. Honestly, success to me is making whatever music I like and sharing it directly with people. I'm never trying to make someone like me. I'm just trying to let them know that it's there, Right. So when I'm marketing my music, it really isn't saying this is the best thing ever, bigging myself up. I just want people to see that it's there, and then if they like it, that's cool, honestly. Right,
so it's marketing in terms of connectivity with the fan base or a future fan base. Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Now you say that these I'm going to call them fans. That's okay. Are looking hard on the internet, but your Obey Robots project hit the UK albums charts at number 14, which was ahead of the Arctic Monkeys and Lewis Capaldi. And this is context, folks. And just behind, you may have heard of this band, ABBA and Fleetwood Mac. So now this whatever that means in the bigger sense. I'm not trying to rearrange the firmament and put you in between those four artists, but
no.
Even so, hitting the UK albums chart at number 14 is a really impressive achievement for a DIY artist. And I can imagine that some people are listening to this and thinking, well, that sounds almost too good to be true. That you use, you were saying, the tools like email, social media, video, and you did it all yourself, and you got chart success. So first of all, can we break this down in terms of why you obviously deliberately went for this sort of to stake a flag as high in the charts as you could. Why did you choose to do that? Because obviously you're saying it's not about fame, it's not about sort of arbitrary measure of success. But so why did you target the charts, and how did you do it?
Okay, so first of all, the sounding too good to be true, I totally get that, because there's a lot of lying going on in the music business. Like, artists lie about how many people are at their gig, or how they feel, or how great they are and all that. And there's a lot of subterfuge and stuff. I think I'm one of the it seems to me I'm one of the very few people who doesn't have a secret job that they're hiding and pretending they do this all the time, or they've got very rich parents or whatever. And no shade to anyone. Everyone's just doing the best they can with what they've got. That's fine. I genuinely am fully fan funded. I have it's my own version of a Patreon system where people fund me through that. And I've been full-time doing this for the past 4 years now, which is incredible. I don't take that for granted for a second. It's amazing. So that's the first part of it. So the second part of it is that targeting the charts is about sort of validating the project. It's about gathering people around a movement towards something, and it's about selling some records. And I have no shame in trying to sell the music that I make. As I say, all I'm ever trying to do is put it in front of people to give them the option to listen and to support. And so I make it very clear to people, and I did that through this campaign, that when they buy something from us, the money comes directly to us. It's sold through my Shopify shop. It comes to me. It pays for the things to be made. It's terrifying putting up $8,000. I think it was $8,500 to print vinyl. And going, well, should we print 1,500 or should we print 2,000? Don't know. Because we don't want it sitting around in our houses. We can't afford to not make the money back.
The classic musician's box room full of vinyl. Yeah.
2 doors down here. But it's not. They're currently unsold. I don't feel bad about it. I just have some stock. That's fine. My house is kind of like a warehouse in that respect. It is frightening. This time it was a lot less frightening because I have a collaborator and he has a proper job and he has some savings. So we were able to print up all the merch that we needed, and he's going to get paid back from that now because it's gone well. So sorry, to go back to the charts thing, the movement is not around buy my thing because I want to be in the charts. The movement is around we made this music with no consideration for being popular or trying to hit trends or anything. I never do that. I only make the music that comes out of my mind and my experiences and everything. And after that, I think about how I can get that to people and how I can tell the story of that. And so this whole thing for this latest album and the one before, which went to 24 in the charts, so this isn't a one-off, has been all about explaining what the songs are about, how they connect to us as a community. Because I think of myself as a community artist now. So my role in this community, whatever the community is making this music for people. They've shown me that it has some value to them because they've been buying it for the last 13 years. I'm not imagining that I'm so great people want to buy my stuff. It's actually happening. And then, so they feel there's value there. They will pay for that thing because they know that I need the money to live on and make more stuff that they think is valuable. And then it just goes around in a circle like that. But I'm not positioning myself as being more important than them or more shiny than them or anything. I just feel we're all in it together. And that's what that is. And in terms of DIY, I mean, I don't feel like I'm part of a DIY community of musicians. I work very much on my own. I'm not trying not to be part of a community, but it just hasn't sort of happened that way for me. My community is the other people who are the fans of the music. And I just think that this is the 6th album release I've done. It's always an opportunity to come together with the people who already like my music and find new people, obviously. And we can have that moment together because music is about creating spaces. A song is about creating a space to feel your feelings. A gig is a similar sort of thing. And I think that an album release and the sort of the weeks leading up to it and just after it, it's just a sort of like a coming together of like, we all feel this way. And certainly this latest album has really been hitting home for people in that sense. So yes, I was trying to sell records, of course, and the charts show how many I sold. That's what that shows. But I think what it tells people who are like me, who are making music on their own, and people who like the music that I make, that's not on a billboard, it's not on TV, it just tells them that they're right, in what they like.
It's definitely a thumbs up for that community focused approach, isn't it? And,
yeah.
and I presume that let's talk about that chart placing. I presume that was driven mainly by vinyl sales. I imagine. It
was a mix. So we only printed 1,500 vinyl, and we sold 4,200 copies. So it was quite a mix. There's a lot of downloads, a lot of CDs, a lot of vinyl. Yeah, it was a real mix of stuff.
I mean, this was something, I spoke a while ago last year to the UK metalcore band While She Sleeps.
Oh, yeah.
And a fan of theirs who pays the sort of top tier Patreon for them. And he was saying the same thing, which is from a fan perspective, which is I like supporting them and paying them, not because I get things in return, but because I feel like I'm part of this thing.
Yeah.
So how did you then motivate this fan base that was ready to be motivated to sort of rally around the release on the week of release? Because as you said, your previous one went to 24 in the charts. This went to 14. Logic dictates the next one will be a top 5 hit.
Please don't put that pressure on me. No.
But how did you actually do it then? Again, as a DIY artist, you've got this highly motivated fan base. What tools did you use that didn't require a label, didn't require all this machinery around you to get it all working, get everything pointing in the same direction, and let's say, let's use getting to 14 in the charts as a sign of success?
Yeah, and I will just note, it also went to number 1 in the independent charts. Now, that's the number I'm keeping in my mind. But yes,
that's the cooler chart. We all know that. But yeah,
of course it is. I just had to say that. If I'm going to say that anywhere and show off a little bit, it's here. It's because people who are listening understand this stuff. The tools I used. So the primary tool I would say that's given me a full-time job doing this is my mailing list. It's not sexy, but it's absolutely the one thing that I don't understand when someone tells me they don't have one. It blows my mind. I've been building it up since 2009 through Bandcamp, through clipboard at gigs, and through my website and stuff, obviously. And, so when people buy something from me, they get an option to join the mailing list or not. I've been emailing those people pretty much every month that whole time.
So just once a month. It's not any more regular than that. You're just staying in touch.
Well, it's been once a month since then, and then in the lead up to this record, I started to go a little more regularly, and then it went to weekly, just in maybe the 6 weeks or the 4 weeks beforehand. I do plan these things out, but it's also a little bit off the cuff. So what's changed for me in the last 2 years, probably, maybe 2.5 years using the mailing list, is just a much more story-driven approach. Saying album out now is not interesting. Some people will still want to get your album out now, of course, but there's a lot more going on behind album out now that you could be sharing with people. So that's what I've started to really work on. And when I say work on, I mean I read storytelling books, I read copywriting books, I practice, I've made a real effort to do those things, because in my opinion, I can make the best song in the whole universe, but if I can't write a subject title for an email that anyone's going to open, I can't sell that song. And I'm very much of the opinion that, yes, my job is to make the music, and the music is, I do think the music is most important, but it's equally as important to find the people who will benefit from those songs or will find value from those songs in the way that I've described. And you can be as cynical as you like about this stuff, and you can think that I'm, lying or actually just care about money. I don't. I'm very honest. This is genuinely how I think about it. I'm a community artist. I make the songs. If I don't bring the songs to the community, then I'm missing out on the thing that's the most important thing, which is sharing the songs. So I don't have any problem with learning how to write things better, learning how to do a better email, learning how to more efficiently use a social media platform so people will actually see stuff. It's that kind of these little tweaks, because I'm a lyricist, I'm a writer already. I've always tried to write, and so it's just a case of sort of tweaking those things. So to answer your question a little bit more succinctly, email list, number 1. Number 2 is Facebook ads, but that sort of ties in with video. So video's always been a big thing for me. I've been making videos and editing them for 20 years now, something like that. I used to do that for my work before I went full-time music as well for other people. So Facebook ads will only work if, one, you know how to do them. I don't, but my husband taught himself over lockdown so that he could help me out. And he's actually managed to go and get a really great job at a label because of his skills that he taught himself over lockdown to help me. But those ads only work, one, if someone knows how to do the audiences for you properly, and 2, the actual content of the ad is something that's going to work. So I did a lot of very direct, eye contact to camera, storytelling type adverts, video adverts on Facebook for my last album and for this one. And that was game changing, absolutely game changing.
Is that with the for a little bit of context there, is that with the aim of connecting with people who are already fans or people who are fans but don't know it yet?
Both.
Right.
Both of those. Because I've had my reservations about that kind of stuff in the past, definitely. Just like, oh, well, this kind of marketing, where a platform shows stuff to people because they know the kinds of things they like. I felt a bit uncomfortable about that a few years ago. And then because it is opt-in now, you can opt out of that online. And because I've benefited so much from stuff like popping up in my feeds that I actually really like, I just think that stuff is there. We can use it for good. I feel I'm using it for good because the thing I'm making is something I really believe in. I'm not trying to sell someone something made of plastic that's going to break. I'm selling them a song I really deeply care about enough to put my own money into recording it, to put all of my time into sharing it. So that's, I think it's worth considering the moral side of all of these things, but that's how I've sort of made my peace with that. And it's incredible to be able to just know that there are limitless numbers of people who will love what you do because they're the kinds of people who already love, they're like the kinds of people who already love what you do, if you see what I mean. That's an incredible thing because before I knew that was even possible, it was very limited to, I'm going to pay this PR company thousands of pounds that I can't spare because I don't have rich parents. I don't have anyone funding things. I just have done it through working. It's a scary amount of money to spend crossing your fingers, hoping someone's going to pick you. And inevitably they didn't pick me. And to kind of go back to your thing about earlier on about the sort of why I'm DIY, I never got picked. I was last picked at school for PE. I've never got picked by a label or manager or anything. Once with that manager that didn't work out. I don't get picked. I have to pick myself. I have to make my own doors. I have to do all of this myself. It's how I feel. So the Facebook ads was, I'd say, second in that, and then video. So I have put a lot of time and energy into building up my YouTube channel over the last year and a half, because again, I see limitless opportunity with YouTube. I see limitless opportunity with Facebook ads, and I see limitless opportunity with TikTok, but I'm still trying to sort of suss out what my little niche on TikTok could be. But I think anything like that is just an incredible thing for any artist to pursue, to see where they can fit into that.
Let's talk about the video element then. You're a highly prolific video creator in the sense that you make music videos, but the highly prolific side is that you do a lot of direct to camera.
Yeah.
What would you call it? Vlogging? Well, I don't know. It's focused. It's a more focused than that, but you're talking to the camera about what you're doing, about things related to your music, perhaps not so related to your music.
Yeah.
And that has been successful. Your channel is successful and gets a lot of views, and obviously you can see how that's simpatico with it feeds people across to your music, right? Which is great. How does being this video creator creating, I'm going to use the C word, video content, support the goals of you as a musician? And do you feel like you are a video creator, a musician, more than the other? How does it all balance out?
I'm an artist, and music has always come first for me. But I would say that there are other things that are part of that which feed in, and it all feeds into itself. It kind of goes around in a circle as well, because I suppose I'm a grafter as well, right? I feel like if I can put time into something, if I can sow seeds, then at some point in the future they're going to grow into something. I always like to think that way. I think we convince ourselves of a number of things to try and keep going, right? So one of my things is if I keep turning up, if I keep showing up, stuff will happen. I used to have this little saying, do stuff and stuff happens. It's not very poetic, but it's true. I think it's true. It's what keeps me going. I just don't think that creating 12 songs every 18 months is really a full-time job for me. So I like to spend my time doing things all the time. Arguably, I could make a lot more than that many songs if I wasn't doing other things. But as I say, like for me, the sharing of the music is as important as the making of the music. And if I can do that through different things that I also enjoy, like making videos, then that's something I'm very happy to do. I think if you wanted to be, I'll use the C word. I reluctantly use the content creator phrase. If you want to be a content creator and you're not a musician, I almost think that's easier because you can just pick a subject that people want to hear about and you can talk about that and you can figure that stuff out, try and get a big channel. It's a lot harder when you actually have something already, which is the thing you do, which is the music. And then you're trying to go, but also watch these videos, but also after you've watched the video, please buy my music. So the way I view it is it's a way for new people to come across me at random because it's the second biggest search engine in the world. And it's got limitless opportunity, like I said, for people to find you. But also it's about, I have this, I'm writing to my email list and I'd like to share different things with them. So it gives me different things to share with the people who already like me, to stay top of mind, to explain stuff about songs, to have more of a connection with people. Because there are different kinds of things that a YouTube channel can give to people who are watching: entertainment, information, connection, other things. I think for me, my stuff is mostly about connection. And then a couple of years ago, I was thinking about what else what else can I offer to the world than just these songs I've created? And I figured that what I can do is I can show them that I'm just a normal person who's figuring stuff out herself. And no one ever gave me that much help. And I don't have a music degree and I don't have, training in anything. And I taught myself how to produce and all that. And I just think showing how to be more creative and encouraging people, if they want to be creative, to be more creative in their lives, then that's a valuable thing to give as well as the songs. And I did that through my podcast series where I interviewed all sorts of different artists. It was like mind blowing, the people I got to speak to. And then I realized that wasn't direct enough, really. It was sort of like insinuated, and you could do this too kind of thing. And I was like, I just want to do videos now, because also, again, it's easier to find a video than it is to find a podcast if someone's like typing stuff into Google. And I really love making them, and I think that it could grow really big. But if it doesn't, it's fine, because it's something for me and my community to share amongst ourselves anyway.
And so what they get out of it is an enhanced sense of, is it closeness to you or understanding of your process, or is it something a bit sort of more complicated than that? They feel just, are you the lightning rod around which the community, that's a bit grand, I know, but around which the community sort of is forming?
I suppose so. I mean, but then we're talking about nano communities, I suppose, because I would say every artist has that. You're in the middle. Yeah, I'd rather not be the lightning rod. I'd rather be like on the same level. If I'm standing inside a crowd of people, and we're all just standing there together. That's what I used to do at my gigs. Actually, I have a song called Delete, where I would go into the audience with a megaphone, and there'd be vocal loops going on, round and round as I was singing in a megaphone, and I'd stand amongst people and look them in the eye. And that's quite terrifying, even though I know they're friendly. They've come to see me play, but the feeling of that is incredible. And everyone else got to feel that too, like, oh, we're just together. That's what I feel like, really. Right. I've never wanted to be the person who's on this big, tall stage being applauded all the time just for, doing something quite basic like singing a song. But then I don't want to downplay what those songs mean to people either. I'm not interested in, being the best one or anything.
You understand your community, you understand the fans and the potential fans, and really your ambition is around enriching that community to its maximum for their benefit, but also for your benefit as well. Yeah. Okay.
I will say, I mean, I think because I'm so used to doing it like this, I had to have a moment with myself a few months ago where I was thinking, okay, but would I like to play my songs on the TV? And I was like, well, yeah, of course I would. Would I like to, tour again and play with people who are huge? Yes, of course I would. It's just that I see the value in what I'm doing, and I feel like I'm successful because I get to do it every day. Of course, there are different things I could do, but I don't want to go, because I'm not on TV, I'm unsuccessful, if you see what I mean. Yeah. So it's about sort of defining what success is, and that can translate to huge, amazing opportunities, or it can just be every day. I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So that feels really good.
One thing that artists say a lot, or we're hearing more from artists at the moment, I guess it's always been a thing, but we're hearing it spoken about much more, which is a good thing, which artists saying they feel pressure or they're experiencing burnout to be a content creator as well as the artist, as well as the performer, as well as all the various things that are, you've listed so many of them that is required to be a modern artist.
Yeah.
And some of the criticisms, I just feel like I'm burning out because I'm stretching myself too thin. You mentioned that you work hard. It's clear that you do, and that the very first thing you said was, I don't recommend anyone does it this way. But do you feel that sense of being stretched too thin or burnout, or do you have a sort of system to protect yourself from that?
No, I burn out about 2 or 3 times a year. It's terrible, and I'm not actually I'm not laughing about it. It's a sort of hollow, bitter, directed at myself, sort your life out, mate, kind of laugh. It's something to really keep in check. It's not been something I've done very well at in the last few years, and I've made videos about that too, which is sort of ironic, isn't it? Like, oh well,
maybe squeeze a few more views out of this. Yeah.
Well, no, it's not like that. I just think it's such a common thing. I think though, the reality is, like I've been saying, if you don't share, or if someone doesn't share your music for you, people aren't going to hear it. We can't just stick stuff up on streaming or stick stuff up on Bandcamp, cross our fingers and think we're going to make all the money we need to live on and then, make more stuff. It doesn't work that way. I saw some ridiculous argument on Twitter recently. Surprise, surprise, of someone saying, well, you wouldn't see Bob Dylan asking for likes, comments and subscribes. And I was like, pretty sure millions of dollars went into the marketing of that artist, as has happened for most of the artists you will have heard of. Like millions, I'm not kidding, millions. I don't have millions, so my option is to use the amazing tools to reach people organically and through ads. And so I'm going to do that. And I don't have a problem with that. I do this full time, so yes, it's easier for me in some ways, harder in others, because I'm doing it full time, so I have to make more money, don't I, to be able to do the things. I just think that, of course, we should be taking care of our health and our mental health. That's number one. I think this pressure that people feel is just self-imposed. No one's really making you do anything. I think you could do really great things sending an email out every month. You don't have to also do a daily TikTok. You don't have to do a weekly YouTube video. You do what you do what you choose to do. And I think that people are spending time. This is very general. It's ridiculous to be so general. I get the impression that people are spending their time on things that are not going to change anything. So tweeting a lot, doing a lot of Instagram posts, doing a lot of things where people are barely going to see it, that's a waste of time compared to setting up an email list and emailing people. And then you can dial back all the stuff you feel you have to do because you see so much stuff going online every day. I don't think your career is going to be affected seriously if you don't go on Instagram. Certainly, being a passive consumer of other people's content is not going to do anything for your career. If you're enjoying it for your own personal benefit and like inspiration, that's fine. But spending too much time, consuming other people's stuff, cut that stuff out, and then you'll have more time to, 1, rest, and 2, be strategic about using the internet for your career. And again, there's a separation between strategically using the internet's tools for your career and just having a nice time on the internet hanging out with your mates. That's also fine, but just don't confuse the two. So I've done it myself. I feel like I'm very busy and important if I have all the social media tabs open and I'm seeing who's tweeting this and that. But then I have to go, actually, that's really, all that's doing is making me have no focus in my day. And I actually have very severe blocks on social media. On my computer, I use an app called Freedom, which is really great. So I can't go on it apart from like half an hour at lunchtime and an hour and a half later on in the day. And you'll notice I didn't mention social media actually when you were talking about the tools I used to sell this record. I did find Twitter to be annoyingly useful this time because I really would love to leave, but it was actually really, really good this time. But like I say, I try to be more strategic with my time on those platforms because they're designed to keep us stuck to them all day. Those companies make a lot of money if we keep scrolling. And on the one hand, I sort of want people to be online because I want them to see the things I've made. And on the other hand, I don't want to spend all day on it because I know that I'm not going to write a song that day or get my video finished if I don't get off that stuff. So I would just say, dial it back to email. That's the thing that will sell stuff for you. That's the thing that will cause, create and nurture connection with your audience. If you did nothing but that, you could have a better career than you probably have if you're only using social media anyway.
Yeah. So what does the future hold then? You've had this, I'm going to call it success, because it I think from an objective standpoint it is. How do you view it then? Is it just like continued growth? What does the future hold in terms of what is success to you? You've talked about defining it yourself. So what is that? Yeah,
so success to me always is being able to continue not having a job I don't like. That's not to say I won't do other, if there are freelance bits of work I'm sure I would like. So that's obviously a possibility. In terms of the music and the video stuff, I want to keep going with it. I'm working on creating another solo album, and I've got a lot of demos for that. And so this week actually I'm going to start getting those all together and getting a plan together for that. I've always said that just because I'm full-time making my own music doesn't mean that changes the music I make, because of the pressure or the perceived pressure I could feel to sell that music to keep doing this as a job. So it's very important to me to just make, as I said earlier, whatever music I want, and then I figure out how to share that later. So, but despite that, I think the only thing that changes really is the sort of the frequency of release. So when I was freelancing and was only doing this in the evenings and weekends and odd days, I could only put music out maybe every 2 years, or there'd be some sort of random gap between how long it took me to make the next album and put it out. What I'm aiming for now is about every 18 months to have a new thing out, because I know how much work it takes to release the thing. I have to factor that in as well. I'd prefer it was every year, new music every year, but I just don't think I can handle it. So unless things changed a little bit.
Rihanna had to stop releasing an album every year. You can't do it for too long.
No. And I think that having being able to sort of have a grand statement every 18 months, which is what I sort of feel my albums are, is a collection of thoughts that are coherent. Like it's a big statement. That's fine. I think every year you're sort of putting a lot of pressure on yourself to suddenly be very interesting.
Okay.
But success to me, off the back of this success, would be to just change the way I do things a little bit. I've been fulfilling all my own merch right up till now, apart from the last 2 album campaigns. I've had those done by a chart eligible fulfillment company, obviously, because you can't just make it up yourself at home. I would like to outsource all of my merch fulfillment at some point soon, because just because you can do something doesn't mean you should be doing it. It's silly, really, if you think about it. So some of the decisions I've made that are based on like saving a few quid here and there because I didn't have any money need to start changing a little bit. I'd like to leverage this success in some way, but I know that that's only going to happen if I decide what I want and then try to get that happening. Because as I know from the last time I was in the top 40, people don't just email you and offer you things. Like no one's going to get in touch, because I think either I look so independent that I wouldn't entertain the idea, or people still don't know who I am and they don't really care. I don't know. So I would like to try and explore some ideas for stuff in America, things I can't do myself, and just get a little bit more help around what I'm doing, because I hope that it will grow. And it's been way beyond my capacity to handle for 4 or 5 years, really. It's just that when you can do stuff and you can do it well and you can show the results, it's very hard to, I don't know, audition people to come and help you, because
it's hard to let go of it. It's hard to let go and embrace the possibility that it won't be done in the way that you would do it, isn't it?
Well, it's not necessarily the way that I would do it. It's just like, I mean, I've just had 2 top 40 albums, and that's, unequivocally good, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people who will come along and go, oh, let me do it my way, and here you can have very much less money for your work and not as good results, and I know there are some great people doing some great things somewhere. I've never met these people because I work very much on my own. So I think the idea of having to sort of try and find people to work with again would just, I don't know, it's off-putting to me, because it's never worked out great in the past. So when you can do so much yourself, it's like you have to decide, how much of this am I willing to give away? Because it's hard enough to make money doing this, even though it's gone well. Like it was touch and go whether we were going to even recoup. Which, I mean, when you're on a label, people don't even seem to think about that or worry about that. But it is a worry when it's your own money that you've got tied up in vinyl. We have recouped and we've made money, and it's only been out for a month. So obviously that's a huge success.
Yeah, for sure. We'll put links to your website and your videos and all the various projects beneath this podcast. So maybe there are some people out there who are interested, who are in the same mindset as you, and who can get in touch. That would be a nice consequence of this, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about it like that. Sorry, yes, but of course.
Well, always be hustling, I believe.
Well, yes, I just hustle in a different direction mostly.
Yeah. Okay.
The other thing I'm really interested in doing is doing some consulting work for people, because I know how to run a really good campaign that's values driven, that is meaningful. I think artists could benefit from learning how to tell their story online and to feel better about it, to feel more in control of what they're doing with their marketing, to learn that marketing's not a dirty word. Like there's it's just a way of sharing your stuff. There's nothing wrong with that.
It is 50% of the job, isn't it?
I think so.
Okay, well, equally, if you're interested in a marketing consultant, then you can contact.
I've got all the free time in the world, it seems.
Yes. So finally, that was a really good insight into how you're operating as a DIY artist to as you say, consistent success. For context around that, then, unrelated to that in some respects, if you could only take one piece of music to listen to for the rest of your lives, what would it be?
One piece of music.
It can be an album, it can be a song, but it's got to be nailed down to one thing.
Kid A by Radiohead.
Really?
Yeah.
I think you're the first person to say that, or maybe the second. I don't know. Yeah.
I love that band so much.
Okay,
they've been with me for so long, and that's the thing. Like I first heard them through. There's a boy at school that I fancied, right, in the year above, and he did a cover of a Radiohead song for his GCSE music recordings. And so I must have been 15 at the time when I heard this. And I got played it and I loved the song so much, probably because I was like, oh, he's so dreamy. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, he didn't write that song. Who's that? Radiohead. Went to the library, borrowed the CD from the library, along with an album by Belly. And those two albums changed my life. That was the band.
Which Belly album was it?
I think it was King.
Yeah. Around the same time, wasn't it? Yeah, I used to get all my music from the library as well and put it onto tape. That was the way to do it when you didn't have any cash. No, but that's an album that rewards repeated listens, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So you're going if you're going to have one, you've got value for money there, return on investment. Good. See, that's a sign of a DIY artist right there.
Get as much out of it as possible.
Yeah. On that note, Laura Kidd, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
So there we are. Big thanks again to Laura for joining us, and do check out all the links I've put beneath the podcast, which will take you to her project and her various YouTube videos, and you can see exactly what she's doing and maybe take some inspiration from it. If you found that podcast useful, please share it on with someone else who you think will get something out of it. And if you want to get in touch, I would love to hear from you. Email me on joe@musically.com. That's joe@musically.com. We also have a free weekly email called The Knowledge, which rounds up a soupçon of the best analysis, news, marketing insight, and skills from Music Ally's veritable suite of services. So sign up and impress your boss. Or if you are your boss, if you're DIY, you'll just impress yourself. Links are in the description as always. That's it. So thanks for listening. Great to have you with us as always. I've been Joe Sparrow, and until next time, farewell.